So I want to talk you through a technique that you can use just in case you forget your bulldog clip, just in case you don't want to use a bulldog clip to switch in a note. It's really simple. Basically it's going to look like this. Dwayne, give me a random word.
Forgotten.
Forgotten. Rather scrappily, but you can see it. Right. This would get folded and then folded again like this. They'd hold on to this really simply. They'd keep hold of it. After they'd written this at fingertips, see if you see the move. And that's exactly what the move would look like. So let me explain how this works. It's really simple, it's incredibly easy. You're essentially using the cover of another item on the table to facilitate the switch. Remember, I did say to you that your hands will be acting as the bulldog clip. So let me show you how that switch would work in that scenario. So what you do is you fold a blank piece of card in half and in half again. This would be placed on the table. Now this is going to be placed out of shot, but it'd be placed like this. You can even put a glass over the top of this if you want. It is going to be out of shot, but don't worry about that. What you should always keep whenever you're working with billets, and I always keep this, is a few billets that have already been pre-folded. So before the show I always fold one, fold two, and fold three billets. This should last me for the close-up set. I unfold these billets and they always stay on the top of the stack. Now the reason this is important is because what it allows in performance, I know that I'm going to be folding things anyway, but it allows me to keep these on the bottom of the stack if I want to keep them hidden. I'm not going to keep them hidden in this instant. Remember, everybody thinks that this is the prediction that's on the table with the glass on top of it or on top of the glass. And so through the course of the night, we say we'll come back to that later on. You're going to get several people to name things just the same way that you would in the Austin clip. So let's say that we get a series of random words. So Dwayne, give me a random word.
Forever.
We'll pretend Dwayne. Somebody else give me another word, Dwayne.
Forgotten.
Okay. And then one more word.
Freedom.
Okay. Just so we don't forget these. Right, I've wrote all three of them down. The pen's gone. Dwayne, you randomly named these words. I obviously don't know what these words are. Now what I'm doing is, as I say that, I've only wrote one word. I've only wrote the word freedom. I was actually pretending to write the other two, and the way that I did that is the cap's off the pen, I push my finger forwards, and I actually write, but I'm letting my finger hit the paper. So what you get is this noise. And it sounds like you're writing. So I write one, second one, third one, and then I cap the pen. I say this is just so we don't forget. Now as I take these, my hand meets these, my thumb comes up, and now I'm talking, I'm gesturing. You picked a word, you picked a word, and you picked a word. Well, look what's happened. As soon as my thumb's made contact with this to grab them at the top, it's folded in half. So half the work's done for me, same as in the Austin clip. And now I take it in this hand, and I say now we're going to arrive at one of these at random. And bearing in mind, these could be under the table, I could be talking, but I've folded this in half and then into quarters. Right, so again, slowly, this comes here, my hand takes it like this as I'm just gesturing, that's in half. I can literally keep this towards me. If I want, I can push this off, kick it off like this, and then just squeeze my fingers. And as I do that, what's going to happen? And this is all done whilst I'm talking. Remember, all the heat is on the prediction. So now I say we just need to decide on one of these at random. So I take these down and I say before we do this, and now this is where this move comes in. This billet here would be face down underneath the stack in my right hand. I say now remember, this has been on the table since before we began. In fact, you know what, you hold on to it. And as I do that movement, I'm hiding it from here, and it's hard whilst you're explaining and talking about this. Usually you'd be gesturing and talking. This is the one here that's got nothing on it. Comes underneath in this hand like this, and under the cover of moving this to this one goes in, this one comes out. This is very remnant of the microphone switch, which is a very, very old switch, but were popularized by Bob Cassidy. Remember, this is on the table. You've got this here like this, you pick this up and you say, remember, in fact, you hold on to this. They're holding on to it. It's there, it's hidden underneath. They've now got the word freedom. Now what you do is use the equivoque. Somebody's very happy about what we're doing. Then you use the equivoque we talked about earlier to get down to one word, the one word that was selected. So you're putting a time delay in between that. So let me explain how that'd work. Dwayne, you chose 3 words. You chose the word forever, you chose the word forgotten, and you chose the word freedom. So I want you to imagine this. I'm going to tell you, you're going to separate one of those words from the others. Just call one of them out loud.
Forever.
It's gone, right? We're down to 2. Whichever one's the one you say out loud, what we end up on is exactly what we're going to use. So we're left with the word freedom and the word forgotten. So just keep changing between those 2 words at random. Keep changing, keep changing, keep changing, stop. Now you know where you stopped, right? I obviously don't, but it's a free choice. In fact, if I had you change one more time, it'd be different. If you did change one more time, where would you be?
Freedom.
And that's a free choice, right? You're happy that that's your choice and nobody else's. I did say whatever you call out loud is the one we'll use, right? And I say, now you've had hold of that since we picked it up. We're at fingertips, you held it, nobody's touched it. That was sat there since when? Right at the beginning of the performance. And now when you want to clean this up, literally just put your hands in your pocket, dump it in there with the rest of the billets, and you're done. You've cleaned your act up, but you've managed to do the bulldog switch without actually having to switch anything. You can use that same switch with a pen. So let's talk about the pen version of this, because again, it's just as simple. Look what's going to have our back. This beautifully pre-folded billet that's already there. As I'm just talking, I'm literally gesturing. There's one on the table, same as before. I'm just talking to you. I've folded it in half. If I want, I can kick it over like this, not a problem. I can fold it, and now I'm folded in position as I'm gesturing. I've got a half card here. What happens is, as I place these cards down, this comes off into finger palm, like this, down there. They get thrown on the table. I pick up the pen. The pen's in this hand. The piece of card that's got the prediction on it would be picked up in this hand. And all I'm doing is showing the pen and the piece of paper. And this is very cat-handed like this, but on the table it'd be very easy because I'd use this hand and you'll be able to rest this on your leg. And we will get a close-up of this. This would be here like this. This hand would be down, and as I just threw these over, that's literally what it looked like. Now remember, nobody's looking for anything here. So it'd literally be a case of the pen and the piece of card would be on the table. This would be in finger palm like this. I'd pick up the piece of card, I'd pick up the pen, I'd throw these over into this hand, and that's it, I'm done. If you're worrying about not having a table, you can literally have somebody hold the prediction on their hand, like this. You put the pen on their hand, again, one more time. This hand that's empty, you're holding this in finger palm. This hand picks up the piece of card and it picks up the pen. You throw these across into this hand like this, and literally this ends up hidden here. And as you're doing that, you could reach into your pocket to get the rest of the pieces of card out. It doesn't matter. You're ditching that as you take something out, and now your prediction is going to come true. They're 2 simple billet switches. They should never be overlooked. They're really easy, really simple switches, but they're going to have your back when you forget your Austin clip. They're going to allow you to do a serial divination when you don't have your 2-out envelope. They're going to allow you to switch a billet out so you can peek one if you wanted, so the spectator's holding on to a dummy billet. But yeah, so that is a quick explanation on billet switches. This effect, I didn't even think of be making it into this project. It's Roger Curzon's Miracle Signed Card in an Envelope. And this effect is a banger. It's one of those effects that it packs small and it plays big. Whether you're doing close-up, walk around, whether it's social performances or stage shows, this is an incredible effect. And the honesty is that I genuinely didn't think that I'd be sat sharing this with you today. It's taken 6 months to be able to get it, because Russell Hall, who owns the rights to Roger Curzon's Miracle Signed Card in Envelope, is an elusive character, but we've done it and we've got it. And I want to tell you the story behind the reason that this is making it onto this set. And I don't really know how much I can say, but I'm just going to say whatever, and if it doesn't make it in or it gets cut out on the cutting room floor for letting out company secrets, then so be it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Obviously in the trailers, the idea is sometimes to get a screaming reaction or a big reaction. Now, the reason that you do that is if you've got a video that's 3 minutes long, people's attention starts to nosedive right in the middle. So any audio stinger or visual stinger is going to rejuvenate people's attention span. It's going to make them really interested in what it is that you're doing. So that's a good tip in performance. If you're in the middle of a performance and you can create a moment that's got a bang or some shock moment in the middle of the performance, it wakes everybody back up and they're back paying attention. And now the reason that I mention this is because obviously when I'm out in Vegas performing, or I'm in Miami, wherever, I'll always go up and I'll perform one effect first. So that's usually an effect that's not going to make it into the sets. It's not an effect that's going to make it into the projects. But what it does is it establishes the fact that I'm not pranking the people that I'm walking up to. It warms them in a little bit. And I thought Roger Curzon's Miracle Sign Card in Envelope, my iteration of it, would be that effect. It'd be an effect that wasn't going to make it on camera. It was just going to warm the audience up. It was going to let them know that I meant business. And then I'd move into something that we're going to go on the set and try to get those big reactions. But the incredible thing was that when I was walking up to people with this, I was getting those reactions. It were absolutely barnstorming, and then I never had to move into the second effect. And then I realised, like, I've always loved this effect anyway. I realised just how relevant this is now. And this, over the years, so many people have done versions of this without Roger's permission, without Russell Hall's permission. I want to stress, we have their full blessing. We have their full blessing to share this. We've worked things out with Russell, and you know, I'm so happy to be able to share it, because this is something that I've actually used. I've used it for a long, long time. And just a little bit of a background on Roger Curzon. If you don't know who Roger Curzon is, he's one of those giants. You know, I talk about the giants whose shoulders we stand upon, and Roger's definitely one of those. He's such an incredible magician, mind reader, an artist. He's a true artist, and he has a book called Subliminations, which I think, if you don't have it, you should get. It should be in every mentalist or magician's, it should be on their bookcase, it should be in their arsenal, their library. And over the years, you'll have seen versions of this that were not permitted for release by Roger, which is a really sad thing, because it's such an amazing routine. It goes back, you know, all the way back to, let's see if there's a date on this, because I know it's so original effect and routine 1988. So this goes back to 1988. Think about that, right? And there's people that have ripped it off left, right and centre, but Roger is the original creator of this type of effect. So what is it? I'm going to show you it with no context, no effect, just so you can look at it. This envelope, I don't know if you can see, it's been sat on the table the entire time, and it's got a playing card inside it. Now, the interesting thing about the playing card is you can see it there, you can see it clearly. What is the card? Well, we'll have a look. It's the Jack of Hearts. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what's the point in that? What are you showing me a card inside an envelope for? That's, you know, it makes no sense. That card never came from the envelope. It never came from the inside of that envelope. I can have any card come out of this envelope using this incredible gimmick. Inside the window, you can see one card. Now, the beauty of it is, the cleverness is, that when you put your thumb inside the envelope, you can see your thumb. You can literally see your thumb. So when you pull this, and I'll do it from the back and then the front, nothing comes out. But because the card's been cut down, it hides itself in this portion of the envelope. And I'll do that from the front, just so you can see it. So it's like this, and as soon as you pull it, it looks like it's coming out, right? Which is great, because that means that if you cull a card that's named to the top of the deck, this is sat in full view the entire time. You say, now, think about this for a second, and you put the cards off to the side, and you talk for a second. If you slightly step over this playing card, like this, as this gets dropped on the top, you've now created a pickup point for both the card that you want, and you can literally put your thumb inside and say, look, this has been on display the entire time. Watch the visual here. It literally looks like it's coming from the inside, and it's not. Think about how many applications of things that you could create using this wonderful gimmick, right? So we're going to jump into a few ways that you could perform it. We'll start, as always, with the most basic version of this. Just an easy, simple version. And then, after we've created a simple, easy version that is more magic-based, we'll talk about how to use this in mentalism, because I have a really interesting idea where you touch nothing, or you seemingly touch nothing, and yet you predict everything. So let's jump into the explanations of the basic effect. So let's jump into the explanations of Roger Curzon's Miracle Signed Card in Envelope. Now, I highly recommend going and picking up an actual version of the book. You can get it very cheap from Magic Enterprises in Sheffield. If you've never been to that shop, on a Saturday morning, they have a lovely jam session with tea and coffee. It's a real fun place to be, so I highly recommend going down, checking it out. And there's a few of my other bits in there as well. Inside the book, when you get the book, you'll get given this gimmick, which is a shim card with a magnet. I'm not going to use that in this because I have a couple of ways to do it impromptu, but that would come with the book. I have a few ways to do it without needing that. I'll talk about that in a bit. For now, let's talk about making the actual gimmick itself. So you're going to need to make one of these gimmicks. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut away to the gimmick being made, showing you step by step the process, and you'll be able to make your own. And all you need is to go to Amazon or a stationery store and just pick these up. They're a couple of quid or a couple of dollars, and you just get these letter envelopes and you're good to go. So yeah, so let's jump into the detailed explanation of how this is made.
Hey everyone, so this is the section where you're going to learn how to gimmick your envelope. This is a gimmick designed by Roger Curzon. It's a Curzon envelope, and it's a very slight variation. I've added a couple of bits that just make it a little bit easier for beginners. So let's have a look at what it is. So the envelope, there's a card inside. It's an envelope with a window. That's in view the whole time. It never leaves your sight. The magician never touches it till the very end. And what happens is a card is loaded underneath like this, and this can be pulled like this, and you'll never see the card come out. Okay, so it looks like it's being pulled out, but it doesn't actually come out. And this is where the loaded card, so this would be the selection or any playing card that you like, this gets loaded underneath, and in around about the same position. You grab both. So you grab the one on the inside with your thumb, you grab the one underneath with your fingers, and you pull. The one inside the envelope stops, your thumb slides off as you pull this from underneath. So in performance, you'd open the envelope like this, your thumb would go in, you can see it go in, you pull this out, and it looks like it came out of the envelope. But the card is really hiding behind this piece of paper here, this little bit. So let's have a look at how you make the gimmick. So you'll need a couple of envelopes. You can just use one envelope. Don't worry about using two if you don't want to waste one. Just use an old envelope or some paper. Printer paper is okay, but I find the envelope paper is a thicker stock, and it'll just last a bit longer. If you want your envelope to last a good few performances, then I would go for this type of paper. So all we're going to do, I'll tell you what, we'll go through what we need. Pencil, scissors, glue. This is my daughter's glue because I just found out I don't have any, and some clear tape. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the envelope face down like this, and then we're just going to tear. I say tear, we're just going to peel apart where it is glued. And this should peel away nice and easy because of the paper that they use. Just like that. Now once this is open, we just need to do a little measurement. So what I like to do is fold this back over and tilt this up so the window is pointing at some light. I've got a light over here. And then you'll be able to see exactly where the window is. And what I like to do is just pop a little dot or two little dots just below that window. And what this allows you to do now, you can erase these with an eraser, but you can see those imprints, and you can measure just from the back here. and then just pop a couple of little lines there, and that just helps you with measurements a little later on. So now that is done, we are going to take an old envelope. This is from one I made earlier, and we're just going to cut probably about 2 inches wide straight down the back of the envelope, so we've got a nice clean bit of paper, and then we're going to cut that in half lengthways. Now note that this has been cut on all 3 sides, each one of them, and then there's these bottom parts which were the original cut of the envelope, and we're going to use those as the nice straight edges. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these bits and we're going to take some tape. I should have found the end before I started filming. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut. I'm going to need 4 little strips of this. So what I'm going to do is just pop the end of this tape on there, and then that allows me just to cut 4 little strips. So they're going to be about 1 centimetre or so wide, and then the length is just going to be the length of the tape, or the width of the tape. So I've got 4 around about the same size. I'm going to put 2 to one side for a minute, and then we're going to take 2. I'm going to flip these over, and you can see where the original straight edges are because they've got the little white ends. And I'm going to just stick the paper about halfway up. So now you can see it's like the end is all taped. So the tape should pretty much go and fit along all of that strip, and half of it is stuck to the paper, half of it is free on the top. We're going to do the exact same with this bit. There we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to place these to this edge and stick it down. Now I'm going to lay these down in the same line as where they need to be stuck. Okay, so I want to be around about here. You're going to need a gap in the middle here, as thick as your thumb, or so your thumb can get through. So make sure you don't do it too small, otherwise you'll never get your thumb in. So I'm going to go about here, and this is going to slide under. You're going to line them up and then stick that down. I've left a little tiny gap, and that just allows it to fold over nicely. Same again here. There we go, and then they should fold over nicely. There we go, perfect. So they're both within the window, and there's a gap there big enough for my thumb to fit through. Now, these markings that you made earlier are going to help. So I'm going to fold these back over like this, and then I'm going to fold it back on itself until I can see that marking, and then I'm going to put a fold. Same again this side, pull it back until I see that marking, and then we're just going to cut everything off to them folds. There we go. So now we know when this window is closed, those flaps aren't going to be seen, and they're just to the window there. Now, once we have done this, these are going to go on the opposite sides of these flaps, and if we right, let me just have a look at the orientation of this so that I don't get it wrong. Yeah. So these want to be stuck down the same half and half like this. So we're going on top. Now like this, and the same on this side. So now these should be stuck to the table, basically. So the sticky side is down, so that when we fold this over, the sticky side is now up, and it's going to stick to the inside of this side of the envelope. Okay? Now, the final thing we need to do is just put a little bit of glue on these edges. I've just got a bit of excess paper there, that's going to be a pain and create a lump. So I'll just rip that off. And then exactly the same, just a slight bit of glue along this edge. This glue is awful, by the way, but it does the job. There we go. And then just wipe any excess off on the inside, just stop it sticking and making your life difficult when it's all dried. And now this is it. So what we're going to do, you don't have to worry about these flaps for now. Let's just get this closed up. So we're going to fold it over like this. Just make sure it all lines up nicely to them edges. If there's a little bit of glue left on this top bit, just you can rub that off. Same this side. And then we're going to let that dry. Once it is dried, we're going to fold these flaps down, just like that. Hold them down, and then we're going to just push flat and come back and just push down nice and hard so that tape now adheres to this side of the envelope. And now if you can see inside here, you'll see that it is now stuck to the top as well. This just makes it easier and makes it so that the card doesn't jump on top of these flaps, which can happen because it's very, the margins are very short on these cuts. So all we need to do now is take a playing card and we're going to chop it down. Okay, so now if we have a look at this, we want the card to come to just past the window, and then you can see this line here, this fold line of the flap. So if you look through the window and then if you look at some light, as you can see the window shining through, put the card to that window or just below it, and then we're going to cut to this line, this inside line, sorry. So I'm going to cut it around about there. There we go. So then that goes in under the flaps again, like I said, and then you manoeuvre it into position. And now when you pull it, it hides behind that piece of paper. And that is your gimmick basically made. I'll go back to using this one because this is dry. It's quite hard. Nothing's sticking down properly yet. So when you start, line your card up. I like to fold mine, so it's easier to keep in your pocket. You can pull it, you can bring it out and say, right, I've got a playing card here inside an envelope. And also what happens is when you fold it, it tightens the paper so you don't get it shifting round as much, and and there's less chance of this jumping out of position and flashing. But you should be okay with the glue down at the bottom here. Also, it helps when you're handling it to hold the card as well, so you can show it doesn't slip around, and it really is fair looking, And then all you have to do is, like I said earlier, is Pete will teach you. You get your card, comes out, pull your finger in, and then you show that the card was in there the whole time. So that is your gimmicked envelope.
Right. Listen, you're not a magician, though, mate. Do you know what I mean? So let's leave it there.
No, it's not.
No, leave it there because
I remember it.
No, you're staring into space, going like, "Oh, if I could just remember this, if I could just remember this." We're burning through memory cards. It's been like 2 hours.
I know, but right. You know what I'm like. Once I won't be asleep. I'll be thinking about this for days, and then I'm going to end up ringing you in 4 days' time and going, I've got it. Can we just meet up and film it? So I designed this trick when I was 12 years old, and I can't remember the mechanics of it, right? But it used the Curzon envelope, and I liked it because it was one of the first magic tricks that I ever created myself. And it were a really good one. I just don't remember the method, so I'm just going to bungle my way through it, and I bet you I can somewhat. I think I know where it.
Well, I bet you don't. I bet you don't know where it is.
I think I do.
No way.
All right, let's wager it.
Go on then. What?
Well, you tell me what you're willing to offer. If you
I'll
tell
offer
me,
you a Kinder Bueno if you can get this trick correct without flashing.
so for those people that are watching, Kinder Bueno is a chocolate bar. It's my absolute favourite. Kinder Bueno, and since we're in Paris, a ticket to Disney, and I'll do it.
And with no flashing.
No flashes.
All right, done. Right, done.
And I'll take it up a notch. If I don't manage to do it, then I'll wash Dwayne's underwear by hand.
Yeah.
Mate, I win in every situation here.
Yeah, love it.
All right, okay, so inside this envelope I placed my favourite playing card. Now, I know statistically my favourite card's probably not the same as yours, Dwayne. What's your favourite playing card, mate?
The 3 of diamonds.
The 3. Just make sure it's in here. Okay, there we go. This is the bit that's unreal. My favourite playing card, like I said, statistically is not the same as yours, but mine's very similar. Mine's the 3 of hearts.
Okay.
So yours is the 3 of diamonds, mine's the 3 of hearts. We're the 3 brothers. There's only 2 of us, but
Yeah.
like the 3. Just sign the face of the 3 of diamonds. I know it's already got a signature on it, but you'd be able to recognise this if you saw it again, right? So just keep your finger on the 3 of diamonds for me. Now inside there's the 3 of hearts. There's the 3 of diamonds. Now here's the aim is to get the 3 of hearts to jump from there under your hand and take out the 3 of diamonds and have it jump into the envelope.
Okay.
And I'm going to use sleight of hand to make it work.
Okay.
All you've got to do is stop me from touching it to get hold of it to put it in the envelope.
Okay.
All right? Aha, could have had it then. Look at me. Sleep. You will get... Well, I'll tell you what. Let's try it this way. Just put your whole hand on the 3 of diamonds. Don't let me touch it and close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you can see those spots, the pips down the centre of the card. Mm-hmm. And imagine you see that diamond changing to a heart. It slowly starts to change. And each one of them pops and changes to that heart. And what happens then when you're doing that is that my diamond changes to the heart, right? Would you believe me if I told you that it's already done?
No.
I'll do this at absolute fingertips. One playing card. You can pick yours up, don't turn it over yet. So you've got the 3 of diamonds. I have the 3 of hearts. No, I've now got your signed 3 of diamonds. So that'd mean you've got my 3 of hearts. And that is how you win a free ticket to Disney. We're going to Disney, boys! Woo! So I want to talk to you about the Curzon switch envelope. This is the additional ideas to that because I believe that Team E have already done the explanations. If you don't know the Curzon switch envelope, you're in for a treat. This is one of the most ripped off pieces of magic and mentalism in the entirety of magic and mentalism. It's used in so many different variants and none of them without permission from Roger Curzon. We've reached out to Roger Curzon. I know Roger personally. Roger lives 20 minutes from my house. He's a genius. If you don't know Roger Curzon's work, I highly recommend you check it out. Subliminations is one of the best books that I ever bought. It's an incredible book. Roger's got a wealth of knowledge that you'd be remiss to not dive into. And I just want to thank him wholeheartedly for letting us use the two-way or the switch envelope on this project because it really is one of the greatest tools. So like I said, I believe that Team E have already done the explanations for this, and I just want to add a little idea. So one thing that you have to do with the envelope is you have to hold out on the back. Now, usually wouldn't have a flap. This is not one of Roger's envelopes. It's just for demonstration purposes. You'd hold out on the back. Your hand would go inside it like this, and then you'd pull from the back. There's a little tip and technique that I've used, and in fact, I'm using this on a show that I'm working on right now, and it's to take a small piece of double stick tape and put it on the back of here. Because what that means is that once the envelope's on display, you can write what you need to write. You can turn it face down, so it's on here. Now, all you've got to do is you say, well, just put these off to the side for a second, and you stick the double-sided stick tape down onto the billet or the card or whatever it is that you're deciding that you're going to switch out. Now at fingertips, you can reach forwards and you can pick this up like this. And you can show your hands absolutely empty. As you then turn it, you either use your finger or your thumb, you reach inside and you're just pulling the billet off the back from this piece of double-sided stick tape. It's a great little way to make this hands off. And it also means that you can show a display of this very openly as you're just talking. Now, I don't like this sort of thing. You know, it's got to be very open. It goes down. We'll just move that over there for a second. You literally at fingertips, you pick this up, you show that inside there, your thumb goes in, pulls it out, and now you're loading off the back. So hopefully, does that make sense, Dwayne?
Absolutely.
It's a great little touch. If you've got the gimmick, you'll know just how much of a great little touch that is, how much time and effort that's going to save you having to hold out. How you can literally take this, and if you wanted to move it later, you can move it away from the billets, throw it down, talk for a second, pick it back up. It's just stuck out, held out on the back with that piece of double-sided stick tape, and that's it. So it's a tiny little touch. I know they've already done the explanations, but I wanted to talk about the history of the effect, where you could get Roger Curzon's work, add Roger Curzon on social media, buy directly from Roger or Russell at a shop called Magic Enterprise, which is a magic shop, a brick and mortar magic shop in Sheffield. And I know that illusionists are on a mission right now to save brick and mortar shops. And we're actually taking our stuff and putting it into, I say our stuff, they're taking their stuff and they're putting it into these brick and mortar stores. So please go to that store, check it out. Every Saturday they have a jam session in the morning. It's worth, I go down from time to time. If you want to hang out with me and you want to take a trip to Sheffield, if I'm in the area, we might be able to meet up and have a jam session. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say on the Curzon envelope. Let's jump into something else. So now I want to talk about an interesting force that uses one of these little bad boys. This is a watch. Now you can borrow the watch if the watch has a date feature on it. If the watch doesn't have a date feature on it, this routine is so clean you could literally take your own off your wrist, and it allows you to perform analog versions of things that would be deemed impossible, because there's a lot of gimmicks out there that replicate this, such as the Turner watch and other things, but you really don't need those things. So going back to the 70s, there was a guy called Bev Bergeron, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he created this effect, and it were inspired by a Bob Thurston ideas with a pocket watch in the 1950s. Shortly after that, Michael Weber designed something in a booklet called Swatch This. And Richard Osterlind had a series of touches on this as well, and I know Max Maven's used it on his DVD sets. It's a classic. But what I'm about to teach you today is a first, because nobody else has really done it this way, and I know because I've done a lot of research into this stuff. First, I'll teach you the original technique, and then what we'll do is we will jump into the additional subtleties and the new version of this, reversing it. So what I'm going to do, Dwayne, you're going to take this, and what I want you to do for me is I just want you to turn. You're going to take the stem of the watch. You're going to have to come over here for this. You're going to take the stem of the watch and you're going to turn the stem like this. So you can see the time's changing.
Yeah.
You're going to take that, you're going to turn it face down like this, spin it, and then when you want, pop it in and tell me when you feel it click. Now obviously this is very rough. This is not how I do it in performance, but you literally felt that click in, right?
Yeah.
Have a look at the time on it.
Yeah, it says...
Don't tell me, but just tell me when you've got a time in your head.
Yes.
Now obviously I don't know what this time is. So look at me and focus on the hour hand to start with.
Yeah.
4.
Yes.
16 minutes past 4?
It is.
Yeah, right. So it allows you to force a time. you can also force a time. You can have somebody write a time down. You can peak that time. You can set the watch to that time. You can have somebody twist it and force the time on somebody else, which allows you to replicate exactly what the Turner watch does, or any digital electrical watch. It allows you to do it analog, right? So all you're doing for this is any watch that has a date feature, when you pop the stem in or the crown once, it changes the date. It doesn't change the time. So what I do is I show it and I say, look, you can see that the time is changing, and I move it backwards and forwards, right? So they say, yes, I get it to wherever I want it. We're at 16 minutes past, and I say, I just want you to take this. I pop it in once, and I just want you to turn it. Now, when they're turning that, it's changing the date feature. It's not changing the time. And I say, turn it and pop it in and put it to your ear so you can hear it. And they'll hear it pop in. And now look at the time on it. Now, as long as the time's different to what the time is now, so right now we're at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. When Dwayne sees 16 minutes past 4, that's subtlety enough with the click to allow Dwayne to think he's been changing the time. Plus that little subtlety me popping it out first and saying, Dwayne, you can see the time's changing, right? You can see that, and I turn it, I go back to 16, and that's already back now to 16 minutes past 4. I say, you're going to take this, and I pop it in just once. And now look, the time's not changing. It really isn't. It goes face down. Whenever you want, put it to your ear and pop it in. You've heard it popping in. You know that the time's different to what it was a second ago. Have a look at it. Yes. They look at it, the time's not changed, and now you're going to be able to, within the minute, predict exactly what this thing is. Right? Does that make sense, Dwayne?
Yep.
So I changed this. I didn't want to use it as a forcing device. Now, you can use it as a forcing device. You can force the time, and you can use that as your one ahead. And what you say is, look, I'm going to give myself, because this is very difficult, I want you to think of a time that's meaningful to you. Right? And you can do it in reverse. So you say, in fact, I want you to twist this. I'm thinking of a time that's meaningful to me. Twist it and pop it in. If you're out by 1 or 2 minutes, we'll count this as a hit. And now you're using that as the one ahead that we talked about earlier on, right? Which is a great way to use this technique. Another way you can use this technique is to do something that is a first, I believe, and it's to reverse it. So I say, Dwayne, do you know the time you were born?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Do you know the time that Charlotte was born?
No.
Okay. But you do know Charlotte's date of birth?
Yes.
Right. So we'll create the next best thing. Now, most people don't know the time they were born, right? But let's say somebody does. You pick somebody else. You say, do you know the time that this person were born? No. Do you know the time? So just find somebody that doesn't know the time they were born. Right. I say, if you were to look at the hours on a clock face, how many hours are there in a clock face?
12.
And how many months are there in a year?
12.
Right. So I want you to imagine the month Charlotte was born as the hour on a clock. So if she were born in January, it'd be 1, February would be 2, March would be 3, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So you have an hour hand in your head, right? And I want you to think of the exact day or the date that Charlotte were born.
Yeah.
And what that does is that'll now give you a time.
Yes.
That's the next best thing. You might not know the time that Charlotte were born, but now you've got the next best thing.
Yeah.
Right, so now I'd ask Dwayne. So let's say Dwayne said 4:15. I'm just going to, that'd be 15th of April, right? I get Dwayne to set the time to that time, and I say, right, show everybody. Don't do anything just yet. Show it to everybody. So Dwayne shows it to everybody. As it's being placed face down, I pop the stem in once. I said, just twist it and change the time. And then when you're done, pop it in. You hear that click. I say, right, so that's a random time. I said, does somebody have the time to set my watch back? And now you can see the time says 4:15. When I'm putting this on my wrist and I'm adjusting it, I'm just looking at what the time says. Now I know the date that this person were born. So now I can take this, change it back to the time it actually is, and I've used it as a peak device. I pop the stem in, they've twisted it, it's not changed. Everybody thinks it's changed. And then I can hold it upside down and say, right, let's try this. And a watch this way, you look at the time on that compared to the time on that as this subtlety just as a display, and it looks like it's a totally different time, right? So I'm using it as a peak device to let me know that person's birthday. Now, this is one thing that I'd recommend learning. Dwayne, give me somebody's date of birth at random. It doesn't matter whose it is.
10th of August.
So I obviously know that the 10th of August is Leo. And there's a reason that I know that. There's a little rhyme that you can learn that'll get you down to 1 in 2. And then I learnt the dates, so it's easy. But Aquarius reigns so the fish can swim. The ram and the bull come charging in. Twins on giant crabs will ride. The lion sleeps by the virgin's side. To balance out the scorpion's sting, the archer hunts the goat for its skin. Learn them as lyrics. So what it means is somebody gives you a a date. So give me another a month.
February the 9th.
So February 9th, Aquarius reigns for the fish. I know that it's either going to be Aquarius, the one before it, or the fish. So now I'm down to 2 star signs by learning that rhyme. I know, what did you say?
9th of February.
The 9th, so I know that that's Aquarius, but I know that because I know the dates, right? But you're down to a 50-50 there, which allows you to nail a star sign by just peeking this. Then you can nail the exact, then what you do is you go, so the hour, and you do inverted commas, that you were born was 4. The hour was 4, right? You get a yes. Yeah. And then you go, in fact, let's go for the date of birth. Forget the time. And now you get the hour, and now you nail the date of birth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Real simple, real easy, and straightforward. You're just using it in reverse as a peak device. Now you can do this for anything. It could be playing cards. You can ask somebody to twist this, and you say, have you ever heard of right place at the right time? They say, yes. You say, right, this is what I want you to do. Let's say you wanted to force a number from 1 to 52 and you have a stacked deck, right? Somebody says, oh, the 6 of clubs. Now, let's say you know that the 6 of clubs is at 14, whatever number it's at. You can now pick up your watch. You can say, look, you can see the time is changing. Ignore the hour hand, pop it in, twist this at random and punch it in, and just have a look at a time. Now, I'd set it to 13 if the card were at 14, and I'll explain why. It's very easy for time to get round the second hand to change the watch one place. If you set it at 13, they deal down that number and then they've arrived at that 14th card anyway. So it gives you the leeway of the 2 cards. They spin it, they pop it in. Look at the number there. Now that goes from 1 to 60. If this is past 52, let's spin it again. Is it past 52? No. Perfect. Just deal down the number you're thinking of. Now they're going to deal down, and you've used the watch now to force the number in any card at any number. Beautiful little subtlety. Tiny, easy, but works perfect. So obviously inside I asked you both to think of something and I guessed it, and you said, oh, I really wanted to mess you up. So I said, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that, right? When I ask you to think of things and you think of random words, you think they're random, but when you put under pressure, the problem is that you jump to the first thing that your brain latches onto. Now you saw that I can influence people, so if I can say things that can force you towards specific numbers, it'd be the same with words, right? So what I did is I created what they call platform cards. These cards allow you to look at them. So if this one says anything you like, if you pick this one, you think of anything you like. If you pick this one, it's the word snake. If you pick this one, it's rhino, snowboard. Every single one of these is absolutely different.
Okay.
But what it does is it means it's going to be random, so you didn't know you'd pick it. And because you didn't know you'd pick it, then there's no way you could have been forced or pressured into picking that word or thing. Does that make sense? Because you're going to choose it randomly.
You just did that to me, right?
Yeah, that's it. So you're not put under pressure in the heat of the moment because you could change your mind.
Okay.
So I'm going to run down the side of these like this behind my back. You're going to shout stop. If you're not happy with where we stopped, you say to me, Pete, I'm not happy, I want to go again.
Okay.
Right? So shout stop.
Stop.
Happy?
Yep.
Take it.
Yep.
Don't let me see it, put it straight to your chest. Straight to your chest. You're going to have a peek at what it says. Don't react. There's going to be something inside you that just wants to give this away. So just have a little peek at it. Don't let me see.
I already know.
Okay, you looked at it?
Yeah.
Wherever you want, you put it back in. And they're going to go straight into my pocket.
Okay.
So the idea is this. You've got to, in your head, try to stop me from guessing this.
Okay.
And it's my job to try to guess it. And if at any point I struggle, I might get you to write it down so that you've re-seen it. And then I'm going to try guess it. Okay, so be really honest with me, are you lying inside your head to try to throw me off as to what it is? You are, okay, so you're probably best write this down. You take that a second. Take the cap off the pen.
You son of a...
Is that what you were thinking of?
Yes!
Were you thinking of a spider?
Sorry, I said you son of a...
Son of a what? Son of a...
You got me so good! Ugh, you suck. Sorry, I didn't mean to be aggressive.
But no, it's alright.
No, that got me. Yeah, like that's exactly what I was thinking. How did you do that though?
I didn't, you did it.
That's crazy. Ugh, go away. I love spiders, by the way, but it's funny that I got that one.
It looked like you loved them.
I know.
You love them enough to call me a son of a...
Yeah, I know. Sorry, please.
No, it's alright, thank you.
Take that out.
Take care. So Stacey, there's a couple of things that are important. Firstly, you don't know what's about to happen. Like hand on heart, don't know what I'm about to perform. You're a magician yourself, so I think this will be fun. Magicians are interesting because they think so differently to regular people, but it's that thinking that makes it easy to influence them, right? And I'd like to show you what I mean. So I want you to look that way for a second.
Okay.
It's important that you don't know what it is that I've written down, but I want you to turn back around for me. Do you have any idea right now what's written on that piece of card?
No idea.
So I'm going to name some categories, and all you've got to do is remember those categories. Okay. That's it, right? So you tell me when you're ready to remember.
I'm ready.
So I'm going to name it. It could be places, insects, times, names, numbers, letters, or brands. Now I did fire a number of categories out there, but just name one back to me.
Insects.
And that's a fair choice. It's just the first thing that comes in your head. Name like a creepy crawler or a bug, like an ant. Just a creepy crawler or a bug.
Okay.
Just say it.
Centipede.
Good. Give me a few more, just so we've got a little list. Creepy crawlers, bugs, anything.
Spider.
Good. Give me another.
Cricket.
Oh, that's fine. Are you happy with those? Do you want to add more?
I think that's good.
Okay, so you've got 3 there. I'm not forcing this at all. It's completely up to you to make your own decisions. But imagine those 3 are on the table.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this is by process of elimination. I'm stating that explicitly. So just change your mind through those 3. Keep changing at random. Keep changing, and stop. Could I know what you're on right now?
No.
You sort of went, maybe. So if you'd have changed one more time, this would have been different. In fact, if you were to change one more time, where would you be?
Cricket.
And you could have done that. But that's not where you stopped. Where did you stop?
Spider.
And did I know what order you were changing in?
No.
Did I know what you were going to end up at when I said stop? No. So would it be fair to say that where you stopped is a completely fair choice? Spider.
Yeah.
Now, if you'd have gone for places as the category that you named, you could have been naming a series of places. It could have been Bradford, Germany, Leeds, Spain. Numbers could have been any number. Letters could have been any letters. Brands could have been any brand. Times could have been any time of day. Names could have been any one of our names. But you didn't. You said insects. You named the insects. I said, do you want to name more? You said no. I said, I'm going to explicitly tell you that this is via process of elimination. You're going to change through them. And whatever you say out loud is the one that we'll go with. The one that you stop at is the one we'll go with. I said, there's no forces. You change your mind. And I said, stop. I stopped you specifically on spider. Have a look at it. And spider, there it is, right? So it's a nice, easy little routine. It's great. It's a bit of fun. And that's not even best case scenario. That's just one of the many scenarios that could happen in this routine. I'm going to teach you a psychological version like this. I'm going to teach you a mechanical version. And then I'll also talk to you about a couple of principles that we can add to this, that we can use for also stunning pieces of mentalism. So yeah, let's jump into the spider pen. I didn't bring the pen. I'm going to put the pen on the table. I'll talk to you about the pen. We'll explain what the pen does, what it is, and then how this routine works. So let's look at that. So just whilst the camera off there, you didn't see it, but I pulled the cap off of this pen, and Stacey's reaction was I could see social media influencers using this very pen. I must state very openly, I'm a mentalist, and I don't really use that many props that aren't natural to the environment that I'm performing in. So for example, for me, even carrying billets these days is something that I won't do. I'd rather take taxi cards or cards off of notice boards, or use scraps of paper or napkins or lipstick if I don't have a pen. You know, I'll try to find natural ways to implement my mentalism, and they find themselves part of the experience as opposed to me going to them and performing at them, right? And if it's a gig, that's a different situation. It makes sense that you'd carry your own tools with you in a gig. That's just me as a mentalist. I'm not particularly fond of props like this one, but what's important to remember is that every single piece of magic and mentalism might be one man's gold and another man's rubbish, or one woman's gold and another woman's rubbish, right? You've just got to remember that. So for me, I'm not enamored with this, but I know that I've showed this to people at Magic Live when I were there last year, and they were like, oh, can I please use this on my social media? Like, I'd really, because the reactions that you get from it are actually great. But there's a nuance to the reaction, and you've got to sort of question whether they're reacting to the fact that it's a spider or whether the magic's great. And it sort of falls into the same category as the Omni deck for me, and other things like that, which is something that I'm not going to get into. But basically, this is called the spider pen. Not to be confused with Miguel Masika's spider pen, or the tarantula. This is a pen, and when they pull the lid off of it, a spider pops out. Now you can see why this is going to get good reactions, because if somebody's terrified of spiders and they open this, they're going to start screaming, and the thing is that it follows them because of the piece of rope. So it's almost remnant of the dollar bill with a snake attached to it. You know, when somebody picks the dollar bill up and then the snake comes out and they start running away. It's very remnant of that. This was designed by Team Illusionist. I didn't design this, but the psychological force is something that I designed years and years and years ago, and this works well with it. So that's your spider pen. It literally, so simple. You fold the legs back, the legs fit inside the hollowed out base of the pen, and then it clips together. And then when you open it, it's going to pop out. It's as simple as that. There's not really much that detail I need to go into with this pen. Yeah, I'd rather spend time talking about the routine, because you can use the routine without the pen. And I'm going to talk to you about a mechanical version, and then I'm going to talk to you about the propless version, or the psychological version that you just witnessed. So let's jump into that. So the mechanical version is really easy. You need a stack of billets. Now I'm repurposing these billets that were used for other things throughout these explanations, but instead of wasting loads and loads of billets, you'll get a set of these. You can also get refills at Illusionist. These are my favorite stock of billet. That's not just me saying that. If anybody says, oh, he's just saying it, I told you I'm not enamored with the spider pen. I won't lie to sell products. You know, it's not going to be something that I do. These are genuinely my favorite stock and my favorite size of billet. Billet is just a blank business card, right? So that's why these are included in the set. So what you do is you take whatever it is that you want to force. In this case, it's the spider. I'll show you what this looks like so you can see it. This can be used with cards as well. This is taken here. We'll pretend that this is a full stack instead of it just being a few. If you take hold of those and just slowly deal them one at a time. So as you're dealing these down, just one at a time there. Go for it. It's all right, it doesn't matter, keep going. Do you know what, it's going to take all day. Grab some, just grab a chunk of them off. Yeah, and just dump them down there. That'll do, okay. If this were a stack of cards, it'd work the same way. These would have all different items, objects, things on. You take the one that you stopped at, put it to your chest, have a little peek at where it is, and show it to them. It should be, let's have a look at it. Is it spider? Yeah, it should be. Right, so that'd force the spider. This can be used again in any card at any number. It's actually better with cards in my opinion, but using it for this, it's a very easy way to do it. It's called a staggered crosscut force. So let me explain what the crosscut is for people that don't know. The card would be on the top in the original version. What they do is they cut and just mark where you cut, and then you'd cross the cards like this, and then you'd pause. There's a time delay, and you'd go, right, you cut to this card, and you'd point to it. Essentially what's happening there is they're just pointing to the top card, right? If you want to do a reverse cross cut, what you do is you have the card on the bottom, and you say, right, just cut, mark where you cut to, and then you go, now obviously we know you didn't cut to here, so don't forget that you cut to underneath here, and then this would force the bottom card, right? John Bannon had a really interesting version where it were a little bit more subtle. What you'd do is you'd have it on top, you'd cut, and instead of crossing, you just put them at an angle like that. It were a nicer display. It didn't seem so magic-y. Again, wasn't for me. I wanted one that I could use in any card at any number. I put it 6 or 7 cards down. Remember where you've put it in this example. These were sticking together. Now the reason these are sticking together, and I noticed that, is because of the humidity of the room. Like, you're not in this room, but it is hot. It's as hot as Vegas, and we're not even in Vegas, right? We've got a fan going in the background. It's that hot. So I take 6 cards, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I watch like a hawk the first few cards that are going down. If I notice 2 are going down as one, I'll say, yeah, we'll just do these one at a time. And just to remind, and then you made a conscious effort to separate them for me. Because what I can't have for 5, I can't have you go past the 7th card, because that's where I placed it, 6 cards down and then that card, right? So what happens is these get dealt. Now let's say they'd said 45 and this were a packet of cards. As soon as they start dealing, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look, this is going to take all day, right? So I'll tell you what, just cut to get to 45. Now it's obviously here. So now when you cut, what you're doing is you're cutting it to the top. You pause for a second, you say, now think about this. This is roughly the amount of cards that you said. You could have cut to anywhere. There's no way I could have known where you were going to cut to. And of course it brings spider right to the top. And then that's going to be the one that's forced. I call it the staggered cross-cut force. Something I come up with a long time ago in any card at any number. It's beautiful. Just make sure you know where it is. Stop when you get to that number. So if it's at 7, they've dealt 6. In fact, stop a second. This is going to take all day. Just grab some and cut some. What's nice is sometimes you get this. So let's say they've put the 3, 4, 5, 6 down, sometimes they do this. They agree, they like it. Sometimes they do that, and then you've got this beautiful moment where you pause, you time delay, you talk for a second, recap what it is that's happened, because what you want is to psychologically put a distance between this card and it being on the top. And now you get this, and it's forced. That's not the only force that you can use. You can use any other force you want. You can use a riffle force, a slip force. If you know about Magic, I highly implore you to purchase Royal Road to Card Magic. Look at the forces in Royal Road to Card Magic. There's some really nice little forces in there, you know. If you want this to be more of a sort of psychic flavour, another thing that you can do, Stacey, just say stop.
Stop.
Just here, take that card, have a look at it, don't let me see what it says, and show it should say spider. That's a little bit more of a psychic-y sort of touch. It's if you want it to be more propless. That's the psychological stop force. Again, it's placed down at 7 cards. Your timing's essential here. You're dropping them down. You just say stop.
Stop.
So then if it hits on here, it can either be there, it can be there, it hits. Let's say that Stacey runs past that and we messed up, right? So I drop these down. Just say stop, Stacey.
Stop.
Just there.
Yeah.
Now think about this. Just check what you could have gone if you'd have gone there, right? Now think about this. Check what you could have had if you'd have gone there. No, here. This is the one that you actually stopped at, and then this should be the spider, right? What I'm doing there, if you didn't see it, it's just sidestepping the card. It just gives you an excuse. If you realise they're going past it, let's say it's, I'll show you this so you can see it phase. So as I'm dropping these, I drop them down. I've said say stop too late. I normally say it after 2 or 3 cards. It's coming up and I'm like, oh, I dropped this one down and now I drop this one off to the side. So it gives me this clearance. Just say stop, Stacey.
Stop.
Right. So you obviously stopped here, but look at what would have happened if you'd have gone 1 card more. I put my finger on it like this as Stacey's looking here. Hold these, slide it forwards and go, look, if you'd have gone 1 less, it'd have been this. But you didn't. This is the one that you stopped at. And I saved myself in the performance by side jogging it and stepping it out. That's an old playing card move. It's a great little thing, you know, if you want to test material like that, yet be safe, right? Yeah, that's that. Another backup, another little simple backup. It's the last backup that I'll show you. Is let's say that you hit spider again. You're not comfortable with the psychological stop force. They've dealt down. They've gone past that card. You know where it is. You say, right, you've stopped there. Keep hold of that for a second for me. Now you could see this is not blank. It would be blank on one side. So this is what it looked like. And then we take that and I say, right, this is called a top change. You come in. You say, now think about this. Had it have been you that had done this. And as you're coming in here, that's very overt. I want to do it that blatantly because I won't be up here. I'd be down and across. This is here. I'm coming in. This goes in. If you'd have done this, and I'm just pointing. So again, full speed. This is here. Comes in. My hand comes toward my chest as I just point here like this, but you didn't. You went for this. And then that's going to be the spider card. It's called a top change. Very beautiful move. Very easy to do. You're literally coming in. If you'd have done this, this would have been different. And there it is, right? And your hand covers it. And everyone's attention's following you pointing over. Look, you look up first. So if you, now your attention goes to theirs. I'm just talking over here like this and then allows me to swap and change it out as I need. So that's the mechanical version of this. These have got different things on the face. You force it. You say to them, right, that's that. In a moment, I'm going to get you to write down what this is. Don't let me see it just yet. Now you introduce the spider pen. You say, right, nice and largely on that piece of card, write down what it is that you picked. Bang, the spider comes out, they react, and then they freak out, run away, and then you say, what is it you were thinking of? A spider, you know, once the joke's died down, now you get the additional hit for everybody else. That's that. The psychological version of this is a little bit more cumbersome. It's a little bit more, I can explain it relatively quick. Dwayne, could you just pass me these cards down here, please? So let's talk about the psychological force of the spider. Now there is nuance to this and I don't expect a lot of people to be able to do this because there are a number of principles that are involved, but when you learn this, it's going to allow you to force anything. Now, as I said, I'm not here to sell products. I don't work for Illusionist. I know I'm wearing an Illusionist t-shirt. That's because they sent me a bunch of t-shirts and I thought it were a nice t-shirt to wear for this shoot. I'm not here to sell you alternative products unless I actually believe in the product itself. Mark Lemon and I designed a set called Mind Games that were actually given away at the time for free as part of a Kickstarter campaign with the How to Control Mind set. I would highly recommend picking up that set. It's a download. It's like 6 hours long. It might be more than that. Right, don't quote me on that. I can't remember how long it is, but it's a big series on techniques like this, right? So the way this works is it started with what they call potent placency, right, or potent placement, and that's a principle that I came up with a long time ago, or I labelled it a long time ago. This is a natural psychological phenomenon, and it's the idea that you could place things in certain positions that make them more appealing. So for example, if you invite somebody into a room and you put 5 items on a table and you ask somebody to pick one of them, and they were in boxes so you didn't see the difference in what these objects and items were, one box should be chosen more frequently than the rest just because of its placement, and that makes it psychologically more potent. Hence the psychological potent placement, right? Now, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, a lot of people don't know this, but psychological forces were never like this, right? They were never like this. Originally, it were name a colour and you'd say red or blue, and that was the psychological force. That's what it was. Name a vegetable and they name a carrot. Give me a flower and they name a rose. That's what the psychological forces was. And I sort of looked at them and I never really liked that formula for being able to force something. And now I promise you this, I actually have challenges where people come up to me at conventions and give me a random object and say, right, put that in your pocket, feel where it is and now force it. And I've got so good at being able to do this, I can pretty much force anything or thereabouts. And it's just years and years of practice. But the first principle is that the way that I list the objects or items or categories and the speed that I list certain ones makes a difference. So this is exactly what I do. So it could be places, insects, times, names, numbers, letters, or brands. Now, what I'm doing there is very important. It doesn't seem like much, but you've got to look at it like a piece of music. it could be places. I look at you, insects. I look down, times, names, numbers, and I go, so it could be places. I'm looking away. Insects, I look at you. We tend to register information where we're looking at somebody more than when we're looking away. It's just a natural fact. Some people, when you're not looking at them, when you talk to them, you've even heard them say, can you look at me when I'm talking to you? Right? Because it's a thing that we're just so used to knowing subconsciously. So it could be places, insects, times, names, numbers. I go, bump, bump, bump. Places, insects, times, names, numbers, letters, and I look at you and nod, or brands, and I snap on the last one. Now, the reason I nod at you when I get to there, so it could be places, insects, times, names, numbers, letters, or brands. Right, the reason I do that is because you go, he wants me to go for that one.
Right, yeah.
And I've already told you that I'm going to influence you.
Mm-hmm.
So what you purposefully do is avoid that one, right? Now, that's a technique that Banachek termed limiting via inclusion. So let's say I said to you, in a moment you're going to name a shape, but just to make sure everything's fair and square, it's got to be a free choice. Now you're going to go, I'm not going for a square now because he's named it, right? So that's eliminated one of them. So that's eliminating via inclusion, right? So it could be places, insects, times, names, numbers, letters, or brands, or not on numbers or letters, and then brands, I snap. You go, why is he snapping? But now what you do is you go, because I'm going bump, 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 you go, wait a minute, what did he say there? Did he say numbers? I'm not quite sure. Oh, I remember places, but that were right at the beginning. I'm going to go for insects. Mm. So that's generally tends to be what your brain does, right? Statistically, that's what happens more often than not. That's not what's going to happen every time. Sometimes you're going to have to move into another technique that I'll discuss in a moment, but let's say that happened because it happened here. Then I asked you to name them. I could have stopped you at those two. When you said centipede, spider, and then you went cricket. Right? I could have stopped you at those two, but I didn't because I wanted you to go past spider. So if you'd have named spider third, I'd have still introduced a fourth. If you'd have named spider fourth, I'd have still introduced a fifth. If you named it fifth, I might be tempted at that point to go, okay, we've got 5. Right? But I'm trying not to be too overbearing, but actually the more you name, the later this appears, spider, the better. Because you start forgetting the first ones that you named. Right? And then I'm going to use another technique called the tombola principle, which is a creation by Michael Murray. but this has an addition to it, right? So what I want to do is I want to talk about the other technique that I use. I want to show you the other technique that I use. So please get a drink if you're... It's so warm, you'd think, why are we drinking lattes and tea? It's just so incredibly warm today that it's dehydration central. I'm using another technique. I'm not going to tell you what the technique is. I'm going to show you it, then tell you what the technique is, because if I tell you what the technique is, you'll know how it's done and what it is, and therefore it's probably not going to work as well as it should. So I'll do it using playing cards. I'll just use whatever's on the top. Do you know what this card is?
I don't.
Okay, that's good. So we have, let's say I have reds or blacks. Take one from me. Which are you taking?
Red.
And that's a fair choice, right? Now, just in your head, change between heart and diamond. Keep changing, and stop. Now, I don't know where you stopped between the heart and the diamond, but had I stopped you 1 second later, this would have been different.
Right.
In fact, if you were to change one more time, where would you be?
Heart.
And you could have done that. You really could. But that tells you stopped specifically on diamonds.
Yes.
Yeah. So imagine I handed you the picture cards, and imagine you could see them, and the number cards,
okay.
right? So you've got the pictures and you've got the numbers. So just hand one of those to me. So now obviously I don't know, which one did you hand me? You give me the numbers and I threw those away. Oh no, so I threw those away and left you with the pictures. So just spread the pictures out for me. Okay, so you've got the Jack, Queen and King. Just hand me two of them. Which two are you handing me?
Jack and the King.
Are you sure? Okay. That leaves you with just this one card, the Queen. Yeah. Now, if you'd have handed me the Queen, that'd have been different. If you'd have handed me the pictures and I'd thrown them, this would have been different. So the Queen of Diamonds. Now, if you'd have not picked red at the beginning, remember, you took the reds. You then ended up saying stop on the diamonds. I then threw away the numbers. The two cards you handed me, I also threw away. And the only time that you ever used what you selected were what you kept. You kept the reds. You kept the pictures. You kept the Queen of Diamonds. And then obviously that's the Queen of Diamonds. There it is. It's Magician's choice. It really doesn't matter what card's picked. I'll show you that again. It's likely to look different. You pick any one. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Let's have a look. You don't look at it. Okay. So this one's slightly different. We have reds or blacks. So just take one from me. Which are you taking? Black. That's a fair choice, right? So obviously you've got, let's have another look. You've got club or spade. So just keep changing between club and spade in your head. Keep changing and stop. Now I obviously don't know where you stopped. If I'd have stopped you a second later, this would have been different. So if you were to change one more time, where would you be between?
Spade.
And that's a fair choice. So you said black, you said spade. Imagine I handed you the picture cards and I hand you the number cards, right? So the pictures are here, the numbers are here, right? Now think about this. This would be different if it were any of you. Hand one to me. So we'll get rid of those. Which ones did you hand me? They were the pictures. I got rid of those. So these are the numbers. Now, again, same as before. Last time you handed me the numbers and I threw those away. This time I've thrown the pictures away, right? So it's looking the same so far. I think we can agree on that. So we obviously have the odd cards and the even cards. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you, it's got to be random. Do you have a preference between odd or even? Now I think I know what you're going to say before you say it, but do you have a preference? In fact, drop your hands for a second. Let's try it slightly differently. There's a card on the table. Let's imagine I'm holding the cards and I'm going to deal them. Ace, 2, and every time I deal, you see one go down. So we'll start with ace, 2, 3, just say stop, 4, 5, 6, the 6. So the 6 of spades, yeah? Have a look at it. And there it is, the 6 of spades. We'll do this one more time. That will me sort of jazzing on the end, but you could do this a number of times and it'd be different. Pick another one. I'm trying to show you the different outcomes just so you can see how reliable this is as a technique. I could have gone into odds and evens then and messed about, but all right, okay. So we have one card on the table. Well, that's an entirely fair choice.
Yeah.
Let's try this a little bit differently. Now, you need to follow me. If you don't understand at any point, just say, I don't understand the instructions, and then we'll go again, right? So you can't know what that card is. But now, ignore the suit. Think of the value of a playing card in your head. Don't tell me. Do you have a value in your mind? Now, only you know whether this is a number card or a picture card. I don't. But if you are now thinking of a number in your head, change to a picture. If you started on a picture, change to a number. So you're somewhere brand new. You're thinking of the opposite you were thinking of. Okay. Could I know what you're thinking of now? If you're now on a number at this point, change to any other number you want. If you're on a male court card, change to a female. Anywhere else, just stick. Right? Now, certain suits fit certain values the best. Like the ace, the spade fits it the best. Can you think of the suit that best fits your value?
Yeah.
Now, we've always gone with the opposite, but it doesn't matter. What's the suit you're thinking of now?
Suit, queen.
To the queen. So what's the suit?
Or sorry, hearts.
The queen of hearts. So that's the card that you made up in your head.
Yes.
Have a look at it. It's cool, right? So, and that were a fair choice of card. It just happened to be this, so I went with that force. I have a way to be able to force every single card that gets placed down on the table. Now, that's an entirely different project on its own, but let me explain this, right? Statistically, when you ask somebody to think of a value, they think of a number first because there's 10 numbers and only 3 pictures, right? So let's talk through Stacey's process if she remembers it. When I asked you to think of a value, can you remember the first value you thought of?
I think it was 2, yeah.
Okay, so 2. So we're just doing this out loud. So then I said to Stacey, if you're thinking of a number, change to a picture. If it's a picture, change to a number. So at this point, what would you have done? A 2
Change
to...
to a picture.
Yeah, so which one? It doesn't matter which one you name. So a 2 to a...
Oh, I was
It doesn't matter which one you pick.
Queen.
So you went straight to queen.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter which one you pick there. Let's say you'd gone for jack, though, just for clarity.
Yeah,
so in this case, it were great, and I'll explain what happens here. But so Stacey jumped from a 2, and she's now thinking of a jack, right? But I don't know this. It's not said out loud. So what I do is I say, right, if you're now thinking of a number, which Stacey's not, change to any other number you want. So there's nothing happening there, but it looks like it could be. If you're on a male court card, change to a female. Anywhere else, just stick. Right, so now you've gone from jack to queen.
Right.
If you was on queen, and I've gone, if you're thinking of a male court card, which you're not thinking of, change to a female. Anywhere else, just stick. So basically, if you're on a queen, stick with it.
Right.
Right? So it boxes you into that queen every single time. Unless you start on a picture card. Right? So if you start on a picture, you're going to name a number at the end. And then I say, okay, now let me do this again just to show you how different this is every time. And I run it a second time, and chances are you're going to end up on the queen, right? Because if you started on a queen, and I say if it's a number, change to a picture, a number, you're going to end up on a number, and there's no way I can control that here, right? So, but that just shows you how easy this is to do as a psychological force, and how reliable these are. The other techniques that I use is what they call magician's choice, or equivocate, or equivoke, depending on how you pronounce it. Some people pronounce it equivocate, some people pronounce it equivoke, some people say magician's choice. It really doesn't matter, it's the same technique. So let me show you what that technique is. Any card selected, it doesn't matter what it is, I always start the same, so just take one out. So one's taken out. And there will be other performances of equivocate on this set, I might even catch one outside later. So close your eyes a second. So this is what it is, I don't know if you can see that, that's just there. Open your eyes. So the very first thing that I do is start with a choice. So I've got reds or blacks. Take one. Which one are you taking?
Blacks.
And that's a fair choice. And I don't mind using the word choice. You talk to a lot of magicians, they're scared of using choice. I'm not. And there's a reason I'm not, is because in this environment, it doesn't matter. If you'd have chose red there, this is a black card. Right, I showed you it is a black card. So I'd say take reds or blacks. You took black, I say, and that's a fair choice. If you'd have taken reds there, I go, I've got reds or blacks, take one from me.
Red.
So that obviously leaves us with the black cards, the clubs and the spades. You chose to take those, and that's fine. So that's it. That's the first phase there, is always box them back into whatever colour it is. This is black, so just to quickly run that through twice more. I've got reds or blacks. Take one. Which one are you taking?
Red.
Okay, so that leaves us with the blacks, the clubs and the spade. Let's say you took black this time. Have the reds and the blacks. Take one from me.
Blacks.
And that's a fair choice. So you obviously have the clubs and the spades, right? Now I'm going to move into a principle called the tombola principle. So this could be a club or a spade. You pick black, right? I say, so you've chosen black. So in your head, keep changing between clubs and spades. Keep changing, and stop. Now, only you know where you stopped between club or spade. I obviously don't. If you were to change one more time, this would be different, right? In fact, if you were to change one more time, where would you be?
Spade.
And you could have done that. You really could 1 second later, but that tells us that you strategically stopped on
Club.
Right? Now let's say, so that's clubs. So I say perfect, clubs. And this is a club, right? But let's say that Stacey had stopped on spade. So keep thinking, stop, right? Keep changing, stop. Now if you were to change one more time, you stopped on spade. You were to change one more time, this would be different. In fact, if you were to change, where would you be?
Club.
Perfect. And I just say perfect, so clubs. So you've selected black, you've said clubs. Either way, it's the same thing again. This is a nice bit, and it's hard when there's nobody here, but this is a really nice bit. So take the picture cards and imagine you can see them there and the number cards there. Now, if this had been anybody else, this would have been different. Just hand me one of those. So, okay, I'll get rid of those. I know that Stacey's handed me the numbers, so I throw them away, right? If Stacey had have handed me, and I'm not looking, I'm talking to everybody else here. I say, now if this had been any of you, if you just hold the numbers back there. So these are the pictures, these are the numbers. If this had been any of you, this would have been slightly different. Just hand one of those to me. So we'll just get rid of those. And I see this hand coming, so I know it's numbers. And I go, okay, so what do you have left? And you show me these. I go, and what are they? And
Pictures.
the pictures, right? And I ask you like I don't know, right? If you'd have handed me the pictures, so you put these back up for a second. So just hand me the pictures this time. I go, just hand me one of those. Okay, so we'll take these, get rid of those. Which ones are these?
Pictures.
And I just make out like I don't know, and you're the one telling me, right? So now I'm down to 3, and this is a picture card, by the way. Again, if this had been a number, we'll operate differently for that, and I'll show you a different outcome, but, you know, it's... So now we've got the pictures. So we have the Jack, the Queen, and the King. So in this example before, it were perfect for me. So imagine the Jack, Queen, and King in front of you. Imagine grabbing 2 of those. Which 2 do you grab?
Jack and the King.
Okay, so just hand me one. Which one are you handing me?
Jack.
Okay, so the Jack. So this is the Jack of clubs, right? And that'd be the Jack of clubs, right? Let's say that Stacey would have handed me a Queen and a King. So just take 2 of those. Which 2 are you taking? Give me
Queen
2 of
and
them.
King.
Okay, good. Boom. That leaves you with 1 card, the Jack, right? If that had been the Jack and the Queen, so just hand me any of those. Sorry, take 2 of those out there. Which 2 are you taking? The Jack and the Queen. Okay, so hand me one of those, and you can hand me any.
Queen.
Okay, gone. That leaves you with 1 card, the Jack, right? Either way, there, I'm boxing you back in. So watch that a few times. Think about that. If they take out the 2 that you're not going to use, perfect. That leaves them with 1. If they hand you one of the ones, so just to quickly run it, you've got 3 picture cards. Just act randomly and naturally, right? You've got 3 picture cards. Grab any 2 of those. Which 2 are you grabbing?
King and the Queen.
Okay, so hand those to me. Perfect. That leaves you with 1 picture card, the Jack, right? Okay, and so let's do this again. So there's 3 picture cards. Grab any 2 of those.
Jack and the Queen.
The Jack and the Queen. Okay, so hand me any one of those. Which one are you handing me?
The Jack.
Okay, so the Jack. That's a fair choice, by the way. The Jack of... And now so that's a fair choice, by the way. Yes, and then this is the Jack. Let's run it again. It doesn't matter which you pick. It's just to show all different examples.
The Queen.
so the Queen, okay. Boom. Gone. So... You in your hand right now have the Jack. Perfect, and then that's the outcome every time. Nice and easy. Notice how I use the psychological stop force from something we talked to earlier to get to the 6. There is another way to do that. So let's say I place this number down. You don't know what number that is. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so this could be any range. Just give me the first small number that pops in your head.
3.
Okay, good. So then that'd force the 3, and there it is, right? So I'm pretty good at knowing how to get to any number inside there, right? Again, we'll just pick one. I'll show you the outcome. Last outcome, because I know we're sort of gilding the lily. But this is going to give you the same techniques you're going to use in the Spider Force. That's why it's important to show you this, because you can do it with cards, practice it with cards, use your card slides as you're out, and then you're going to be good. Okay. So in this example, we have low, medium, and high cards, numbers. You ended up on the numbers. So we'll pretend this is the numbers. You've got the low cards, which are like Ace 2, 3, and 4. You've got 5, 6, 7, which is medium, and 8, 9, and 10, which is high. So you've got low, medium, and high. Just grab 2 of those out of the air for me. Which are you grabbing?
Medium and high.
Medium and high. Hand me one of those.
High.
Okay, perfect. High cards. So that's the 8, 9, or the 10. You can drop your hand for a second. There's 8, 9, or 10. So imagine they were in front of you on the table. Mix them up into a random order. Just pick 2 of them up. Which 2 are you picking up?
10, or sorry, 8 and the 10.
Okay, so hand me one. Which you handed me?
10.
Okay, sure. So the 10. Perfect. And then that'd force the 10, right? So just the same way, break it down into small categories, use the same techniques. Again, that seemed fair. You know, it's quick and it's to the point. None of this, throw cards up in the air, some land face down, push some towards me. Just be as quick as you can, get through it, get to where you need to be, and ultimately just nod at the person and say, this is a fair choice, right? And that's it. So that's that. So now you might need to use equivocate like we just did to get to the category. If you said to me places, and I go, perfect, can you remember any more? That's why I framed it up as a memory test. Insects, good. Any more? No. So you've got places, you've got insects. So hold them up. So you've got places and insects. And imagine you could see the places and see the insects. If this had been anybody else, this would have been different. Hand one to me. Okay, so we'll get rid of those, leaving the insects. Okay, that's a fair choice.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's the exact same technique. But you're looking at your periphery, you're seeing which hand comes, you're either throwing, okay, we'll use these. Which ones did you hand me? And then, so it's going to be the same thing. Now they're going to name the insects, it's going to be the same thing. Most of the time you won't have to do that with this, but that's really easy. Do you have any questions?
No.
I think it's quite
brilliant.
clear, yeah, it's quite clear. And don't forget, don't think that you're only limited to this. You can literally write down keys, have everybody take items out their pockets and put them on the table, and then use equivocate to get down to the keys, right? You're only limited by your imagination. But what this technique, Magician's Choice, allows you to do when you get good and proficient at it, is it allows you to be able to get to a playing card quickly. It allows you to be able to, you could put cards face down. In fact, I'll show you another technique and we'll close on this. Inside the deck, do you have a favourite playing card?
I do.
What is it?
7 of diamonds.
So now in this pack, you know when you go for a job interview, right? You go in there, you sort of know what questions they're going to ask before they ask them so that you can answer them as best as possible. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, they might say to you, would you say you're good at working on your own? Would you say you're good at working as part of a team? You already know that you could say, yeah, I'm very good at being able to work on my own. I'm patient. I can get any job done that you ask me to do. I'm also good at delegating tasks. And if I have to work as part of a team, I'm a team player. You know how to answer those questions. Intuition's the exact same. If we took this deck of cards and I split them into 2 packets, you don't know where the 7 of diamonds is in there.
No.
Would you say that just using your own psychic intuition, it's going to end up in the packet on the right or the packet on the left?
Left.
Don't forget that, the packet on the left.
Okay.
Right? So then let's imagine we get rid of the packet on the right.
Okay.
And now we split the packet on the left again.
Okay.
Right? Do you think it's now going to be on the right or on the left?
Left.
So left again.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, each time we do this, we're drastically reducing the amount of cards. So we'll get rid of the ones on the right. So left, left. Let's say that you were to deal down a small number of cards. We don't have much space, Stacey. So if you say like 10, 20, it's not going to work because it'll be out here and you don't have that many cards left. How many cards would you have to deal down before we get to around about where the 7 of diamonds is?
I'd say about 3.
3 cards, all right. So then mix those cards up. And would you say it's the first, second or third card?
Second.
Okay. So I'll tell you what, pick the deck up for me.
Like the whole deck?
Yeah, pick them up. Just cut some off there. Yeah, place them there.
These?
Yeah, right, okay. So now think about this for a second. Right now, in fact, just to make sure that this is random, just in case you're thinking that literally there's no way we could know the order of this deck. I try to make it as random as possible. I remember we didn't shuffle them. So just cut some off. A very messy shuffle of mine, but it doesn't matter. I'm not a card man, I'm a mentalist. You said the packet on the left. You said you feel it to be in this packet. So get rid of the packet on the right. Just to make sure it's completely random. Cut some over here again. Then what did you say?
Left again.
So get rid of the ones on the right. And then how many cards did you say you'd deal down?
3.
So pick up the pack. Deal down 3 cards. So that's 1, 2, 3. So just spread them out. And then which one did you say? Well, the third one. Second. Okay, second card. So we'll get rid of those. Now your intuition told you that. You knew it'd be on the left, even though they were shuffled. You knew it'd be on the left again. You knew you'd deal down 3 cards. You said it'd be the second one. What were your card?
7 of diamonds.
Let's have a look. It should be the 7 of diamonds. Now you'll have to excuse the horrible shuffle right at the beginning, but there's something interesting that I did there, right? And I'm going to show you it. So the 7 of diamonds obviously starts on the top. I knew your favourite card because I know everybody's favourite card because I keep a bank of them and I remember. I culled it to the top and then I say, do you have a favourite card? I know you have a favourite card. I've asked you that when we were in Vegas last, right? And I just remember them, I store them. And so this comes to the top and then I ask you, so let's say it were this example, left, left, 2. Left, left, 3 cards, second card across, right? So now, the first time what I did is I had you cut them and I wouldn't usually sit like this, we'd be sat like this. So it threw me and I just rechecked myself. I picked them up and said, in fact, let me give them a shuffle first as my excuse to collect the cards back in, right? So what I did there is I put them in front of you. And I said, right, just cut some cards off. And I said, where did you say it'd end up?
Left.
Left. So get rid of the ones on the right. And now I pick these up and I shuffle them. Now what I did in my head is I remembered you'd said 2. So I made sure that it fell with 1 card on top of it, right? So now I say, right, and just cut some more off. Then where did you say it'd end up? And so you drop this down?
Yeah.
Where did you say it'd end up?
Left again.
Left again, okay, so get rid of the ones on the right. And I listen to your answers and just make sure that it's framed up there. Now I say, how many did you say you'd have to deal down?
3.
So pick them up for me. And just deal down the 3 cards. So
3, okay.
it doesn't matter if you mess it up, I'm keeping track of where it is. But what I'd done is I'd shuffled it to 2. So in that example, it were already there.
Yeah.
Right, in this one, it's not. Right, so it doesn't matter, because now what do? I know that you've pulled 1 card from the bottom, one at the top. I'm watching. So now just mix these up one at a time. Happy? And now I just track where it is. If I then need to step in because it's ended up here, I go, look, and again, just so you don't know the order of these, I'll try to keep this as random as possible. You said the 3rd card, right?
No.
And now, if I, which one did you say?
The middle.
Okay, so take the middle one. But the reason I say that is if I've mixed them last and I go, you said the 3rd card, in your head you wrongfully assume, well, if he was going to mix it into a certain position, he's mixed it to 3. It's just a little nuance for the pros, but a really nice one, and that's called pre-equivocate. You're listening and then acting out. Instead of going, push one to me, do this, do that, you're telling me left, so I just know it gets cut to the left. You're telling me right, so then I'd say, right, cut some over. Where do you think it is now? It's in the right. How many cards are? If they tell you it's 5, you just do the same thing. Just make sure it's shuffled to the number that they say. And that's it. It allows you to arrive at that card. Nice, simple little touch. But yeah, that's that. Now let's jump into something else.